Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. Later in the show, we'll learn about the Connecting Communities Digital Initiative with Program Director Marya McQuirter, and we'll chat with Navajo self-taught artist Brooke Betsuie. But right now, Susan Levy talks with Dr. AnnMaria DeMars, president of 7 Generation Games.
I'm Susan Levy, and on the phone with us today is Dr. AnnMaria DeMars, president of 7 Generations Games and executive director of the Strong Mind, Strong Body Foundation. Hello, Dr. DeMars, and welcome to the show.
Hello, and thanks for having me.
Well, I'm super excited. I've looked at your stuff, and it looks amazing. So what is 7 Generation Games?
We make games that teach math, social studies, English, and science with a Latino or Indigenous history and culture narrative, because every good game means a story. And it all came about, a couple of things happened. My friend Eric and I were analyzing the National Indian Education Study together in DC, and we found that the more kids learn their language and culture, the worse they do in math. And I was surprised at that. And Eric, who was the president of the school board on his reservation at the time, was not. And he said, listen, you're good in math. There's only so many hours in the week for instruction. And if I take 5 hours out of it for our students to learn Dakota language and history, that's 5 hours less for English and math. And so the idea came up about we could do educational games, because this is something I've been wanting to do. And Eric is a great storyteller, so we kind of kicked this idea around. And so we sat down and got out a video camera and just had Eric tell all the stories that he could think of. And we took those stories and we put math problems in them, and that was the first game, Spirit Like the Game. And then we were working with kids up at Turtle Mountain, which is a couple hours north of there. And the kids were saying, well, how come there's not a game about our tribe? And I was visiting my mom. I'll never remember this. This woman calls me up. I don't even know her. And she says, young lady. And I am over 60, so I like her already, right? And she says, young lady, have you ever heard of the Ojibwe migration? And I said, no, ma'am, I haven't. And she said, sit down. This is your next game. And it was. She was a friend of Dr. Carol Davis, who at the time was president of Tribal College. And Carol had told her, you call my friend AnnMaria. So we did that, and then Christy Hansen, who was our community manager for the company, is from the Navajo Nation, and she said, obviously, we have to have a game about the Navajo. And yeah, so that's kind of how it started and how we keep going.
Okay, so Dr. DeMars, let's back up a second. And so can you tell me which games you've developed with an Indigenous background or focus?
Spirit Like the Game. It's done with Spirit Like Dakota.
Okay.
Making Camp Lakota, we did with the Lakota. Making Camp Navajo, we did, of course, with some consultants and from the Navajo Nation, and of course, Christy, who is our community manager. Meet the Maya, the state of Guatemala, and actually met the Maya and did the Aztec games with them. Making Camp Dakota, we also did with the Spirit Like Dakota over the pandemic. We did it with a couple of classes of children from the school, and all of the games ideas came from there. And then we have Math the Universal Language Dakota, which teaches, it's an augmented reality game where kids can practice their multiplication problems in their multiplication problems in English and Dakota. And then there's a Math the Universal Language Lakota, which same thing, augmented reality game where they can learn their division problems in Lakota. And then Fish Lake, we did with Ojibwe up at Turtle Mountain, and also Making Camp Ojibwe and Making Camp Premium were done with the Ojibwe in Turtle Mountain.
Okay, so I want to circle back to Camp Navajo since we're in Arizona. And can you tell me a little bit about that game?
So it starts out with girl named Rose Nez, and she is telling the player that, oh, don't tell my uncle this, but actually his stories about history are pretty interesting. And she's pulling out a photo album to show the player of the game. and she drops it, and then all these photos spill out, and you find the photos. That's the first part of the game. And then each of those that you click on tells you a different part of Navajo history or culture. So and every game that we do has some educational part of it and some of it that's just games. And it's not a bilingual game like some of the games, but there are parts where she'll say, my name's Rose Nez and I'm from the Bitterwater Clan and that sort of thing. And then she'll say that again in Navajo. So it's not completely bilingual, but it just sort of, when somebody might do that in conversation, then some of it will be in Navajo, most of it in English. And then there's a lot about sheep. So there's a part where you can learn about sheep and lambing, and because it's for children, so it's kind of more basic facts. And then there's a game where every time you answer a problem correctly, then you get another lamb or sheep for your flock. So yeah, there's another part in there. So depending on which photo you click on the choice screen, on the one part you'll learn something about sheep. On another part you'll learn about the boarding schools. On another part you'll learn about something else.
Okay, so it's a social studies game, correct?
It's social studies and math, because
it's got both. Okay.
As I always say, everywhere there has always been math. And so, for example, in sheep ranching, that a big factor in whether or not you make a profit is how many twin lambs you have, right? And if you have, if your ewes get better nutrition, they're more likely to have twins. And so there'll be comparison about the proportion of twin lambs you got this year versus last year. There's another part where it talks about farming and sheep ranching. The first thing you do, maybe you have to get a loan from the bank because you have to buy some feed and you have to buy some supplies like fence posts and things like that. So now you're negative, right? Because you haven't borrowed any money yet and you borrowed $3,000. So that's a negative number. And then it goes through how much you made. And then so you've got these equations, the money you borrowed from the bank, and then the amount of money you made from selling wool and the amount of money you made from selling the lambs. And so you solve that equation and now you find out what your profit is. So it's a combination of social studies and math and agricultural science, because A, as I would say, there's always everywhere been math, and B, I think often kids don't see where these equations are going to factor in their life. As a phrase I've heard a lot lately is, we need to add a why to the what. The kids get told what they need to do all the time, but they don't get told why. So if I could tell you, this is why it would be important for you to learn how to solve an equation like this with multiple steps, because that's really exactly what you're doing when you're figuring out if you're going to make money for me or sheep ranching. So it's combining all the things.
Yeah. So I assume just from the description of the game of Camp Navajo that this is for middle schoolers?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so is like Camp Navajo, does that have like a primary grade part of it, or is it all for middle school?
No, we have a whole series. It's Making Camp. And so Making Camp Ojibwe starts with third grade standards. Making Camp Lakota is fourth grade. Making Camp Dakota is fifth grade. Aztec, the beginning, and Meet the Marya is sixth grade. And then Making Camp Navajo is seventh grade.
Okay.
And one of the reasons we did that, Juliana Taken-Alive, who's our director of regional partnerships, has a saying that I truly love. And she says, it's not only Lakota children that need to learn about the Lakota. And she said, and she said, and Lakota children don't only need to learn about the Lakota either. So she felt, and I 100% agree with her, that Lakota children should learn about the Ojibwe and the Navajo, and so should white kids. So we have a whole series.
That's cool. And so it starts third grade, you said, is the youngest.
Yeah.
Do you find that the students and youth engage and learn better with like the Camp Lakota, the Camp Navajo? Are you getting some good feedback from students and the teachers?
Absolutely. First of all, being a researcher, we do have data that showed that the kids who played the games, we did this with our first series of games that were third through fifth grade. The kids who played the games for 10 weeks, their math scores on the standards in the games improved 30%, and the other kids, theirs improved 10%. So we have a lot of data to show their math scores go up. And being in the classroom, you can really see the kids that the first time somebody comes up on the screen that looks like them or sounds like them, you could literally see them kind of sit back because it's not something they see on a regular basis. I remember being up at Turtle Mountain, and Deb Gorno is the voice of the grandmother in the game. And, like a lot of places, Turtle Mountain has kind of a noticeable accent. And right away, several of the little fourth graders were saying, "That's my grandma. That's my grandma." But they recognize this is somebody who sounds like my grandma. And it really does make a difference.
That's a great point. And I think it's important for the kids and that they connect and recognize and that their math scores and their social studies scores have gone up so much. That's a great accolade to you all. So are the games available only through schools and educational organizations, or can anybody download them?
Anyone can download them. There's 2 websites, growingmath.org. Anybody can go there. There's lessons, there's games. We also do customized games. We've actually done several others now. I think we're at Kipton. I think we're done with the Cheyenne River, and that is a game focused on farming. But anyway, any of the games you can find at growingmath.org or 7, it's the number 7, generationgames.com.
7 Generation Games. Okay, so I know I don't have a lot more time with you. I just want to ask you a couple of really quick questions. Which game has been the most popular or successful?
Making Camp Ojibwe has been the most popular, I think, just because it came out first. And it also was featured by Google Play one year and one last year, I think. So they sent it out to 2 million people. So That's kind of what promoted it. I think Making Camp Navajo took off really quick for a new game. And I think it was a combination of, there were a lot of people who wanted something that was more at a higher end of math. And also, I just think Christy did a fantastic job on the design of it. And we had Jeremy Arvizo is an artist from Arizona. I think he's in Phoenix. We've got some really good artists. We had some really good people working on it. But I think the 2 artists did a great job, and it just looks really good.
And Jeremy Arvizo has been a guest on Native Talk Arizona as well. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. So how can listeners find more information about 7 Generation Games, and how can they reach out and contact you?
So there's a 7, the number 7, Gen, G-E-N Games, and that's our Twitter handle. That's us on Instagram. We have a Facebook page, 7 Generation Games. We are on LinkedIn. And I'm on Instagram all the time, AnnMaria 7, G-E-N. So any place they can reach out, go to our website, 7generationgames.com. There's contact forms, there's emails. We will write you back and be happy to hear from you.
Well, I certainly hope a lot of kids and families check out the games. I'm sure Camp Navajo, and I know you said the other ones were really popular. And I think it's a great thing to get kids' math and language scores improved. So that's awesome. Well, congratulations on such a successful product.
Well, thank you.
Coming up, we'll learn about the Connecting Communities Digital Initiative with Director Marya McQuirter. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Pawadi. Marya McQuirter is the Program Director of Connecting Communities Digital Initiative with the Library of Congress office, and will talk to us today about the Library of Congress Connecting Communities Digital Initiative. Hello, Marya, and welcome to our show.
Hi, Lanasha, and thank you for having me.
And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Again, my name is Marya, and I live in Washington, D.C., which is where I was born and have lived most of my life. And I have been with the Library of Congress just about a year and a half. Happy to be working on CCDI and the program in general.
Oh, wow. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Marya, can you tell us about the Library of Congress? What is it?
Basically, the Library of Congress is a federal agency. It's a federal institution, and it is the official library of the U.S. Congress, and it is also a library available for the U.S. public. Most of our main buildings are located in Washington, D.C., on Capitol Hill, and so there are places that are open to the public to come and do research. There are places to get tours and to see exhibits. And we also house the Copyright Office and some other offices as well.
And can you tell us about the Connecting Community Digital Initiative, also known as CCDI?
CCDI, first, it's important for the listeners to know that CCDI is part of a longer or larger multi-year initiative called Of the People, Widening the Path. And this is a larger program funded in part by the Mellon Foundation. Of the People started in 2021 and is in part a response to the range of things that were happening in 2020, and largely the fact that we had the onset of COVID-19, and so the library was forced to close, as did most other places, and wanted to continue its effort to make its digital collections and materials more available to the public. And so Of the People and also CCDI is a part of that larger effort. The Dr. Hayden, who is the current Librarian of Congress, has this idea and concept and commitment to kind of opening what she calls the treasure chest of the Library of Congress. We have millions and millions of materials, records that are about the U.S. and beyond. And the digital collections are a great place for people who can't come to Washington, D.C., for them to be able to access all that the library has to offer. And so CCDI in particular is kind of the digital arm of the People. And what I mean by that is that CCDI offers grants, offers awards to individuals, to institutions, and also organizations for them to use the library's digital collections to create their own storytelling projects. So again, most people will not be able to get to the library to do research and study in person. A remedy for that is accessing our vast digital collections. And then on top of that, CCDI is saying, here's some financial support, here's some technical support to help you be able to tell the stories that you want to tell. And then the last piece of that is that these projects also are grounded in the experiences of folks of color. So that includes African Americans, indigenous groups, Asian Americans and Pacific Islander, Latinx folks, and other groups of color.
Oh, wow, that is amazing, and a great resource for individuals who are interested in doing like digital storytelling. But you did mention the grants and awards. Can you let us know what are the new awards that are available with CCDI?
The first is the Artist or Scholar in Residence Award. And with that award, we're again giving financial and technical support to up to 2 artists and scholars for them to spend a year with us working on whatever project they propose. And that, again, is a 1-year project for up to $90,000. The second award that we offer is for higher education institutions. And this is, again, a 1-year project. And we're offering up to 3 awards to higher education institutions, and for a total of $70,000 each. And then finally, we have our libraries, archives, and museums awards, which are also for 1 year and up to $70,000. So what brings them all together again is that individuals or organizations or institutions will be proposing a project that engages with the digital collections in some way, and is also grounded in groups of color.
And how can people apply for these awards?
Yeah, so the main way that people can apply to these awards is by going to the Of the People website. And there's the 2 best ways to get to that. One is to simply go into your favorite browser and do and just type in the search box Of the People and Library of Congress. And that's the best way, or you can put in CCDI and Of the People, and then you'll get, the first hit will be the Of the People website that's part of the Library of Congress. And we have 3 individual pages within the CCDI section, so you get specific information about the artist or scholar in residence. There's a page for the higher education institutions, and there's a page for the libraries, archives, and museums. And it has all of the information there in terms of the notices, where you can read in depth in terms of the requirements and what we're looking for and how you apply. You can also learn about our pre-recorded webinars for each of these awards, where you can get information about the program and how to apply. And then we also are offering live Q&As in the early part, the first 2 weeks of June, for each of these as well. So there are multiple ways to get information, but the best way is to go to the Of the People website, do it through a browser search, or we also have a new handy dandy URL that's loc.gov/CCDI.
And Marya, can you elaborate on why the focus is on digital collections?
Yes, I'd be happy to. And this gets back to what I was sharing earlier. One, because the majority of people will not be able to visit the library in person, and again, because Dr. Hayden has a commitment to seeing the library and people understanding the library as a national library, in a sense, a national public library. If the majority of people cannot come visit the library in person, then being able to access the materials digitally online, is something that she wanted to make available. And then also because we have such a wealth of materials that have been either digitized or that are coming to us born digital. So again, because we have so much, we want people to take advantage of it and to also create stories, create projects using the wealth of these materials.
Oh, yes, definitely. And it's very accessible, as you mentioned, all digital. Marya, do you have any awardees that are working on Indigenous studies projects?
We do, and I'm happy, really happy to say that we do. We just announced in the last month our newest round of awardees. We have a total of 5 awardees, and one of those is Guildhall, which is based in East Hampton, New York, and they are collaborating with one of their artists in residence that's doing research on the Shinnecock language. And it's really interesting. They're going to be using artificial and virtual reality, or AR and VR technologies, toward the preservation and enhancement of the Shinnecock language. And they've literally just started in the last month, and so I do encourage people to continue to come to the website, to also go to our Twitter page at LC Labs, and then also we have a blog, the Of the People blog, that can also be accessed through a browser search, and you can get updates about the Guildhall awardee and our other awardees as well.
And if people have never thought about applying for a grant with the Library of Congress, what do they need to know? And some of our listeners might assume it's a difficult process. Is it?
The first thing is, again, to go to the website, to go to loc.gov/ccdi, and go to the specific award program that you're interested in, and read through all of the information that's there. We use at the Library of Congress something that's called a Notice of Funding Opportunity. It's often called a NOFO, but that's basically the official document where you can get all the information about the program, how to apply, the requirements, and everything. What I'll also share as well is that we also have this year pre-recorded webinars that are also available on the website. So for each program, you can say, for example, you're interested in the Artist or Scholar in Residence program. You go to the Artist or Scholar in Residence page, and you will see that there you can view a recording of a pre-recorded webinar. There are also webinar slides available and some other resources, and you can also sign up for our live Q&As as well. And if perchance listeners miss the live Q&As, again, they can go to that loc.gov CCI link, and by the end of the month, those live Q&As should be available. Another thing that people need to know is that it's really, really important to start early if you're interested in applying for one of the awards, especially if you're a higher education or part of a higher education institution or a library or museum, where you may need different levels of approval. It's better to get those started early. And one of the things I will share right now is that the applications are open now, so people can start applying. The Artist or Scholar in Residence deadline is August 7th, and the Higher Education and Libraries, Archives, Museum deadlines are September 7th. So again, it's great. It's best to start early, and particularly if you have questions. The earlier you get questions to us asking about criteria and eligibility, then the sooner we're able to answer those for you. And now your second question about some of our listeners might assume it's a difficult process. Is it? I think that in some ways is a challenging question to answer, in part because I think it depends upon how much experience applicants have with federal grants. And then honestly, if you're part of a library, archive, or museum, or part of a higher education institution, that's over-resourced, where you have departments where there are people who are hired to help you get a grant, then it may not be that challenging. But for people who don't have those resources, then it may be a challenge or difficult. But I'd say more than a difficult thing, I'd say it's pretty, across the board, it's pretty time-consuming. So again, that's why I say it's best to start early. And one of the things in recognition of how time-consuming it can be, and also the fact that people will come to this process with different levels of experience, that one of the things that we've done this year is that we do have templates for each of the required documents. So for example, one of the main required documents is our proposal narrative. And so what we provided for you is a template, for each section, the title, who the PIs are, the summary of your proposal, you know what I mean? So there's a template where you can just, literally just put in the information. So we've tried to make it, as easy as possible, again, so you can use these templates as guides for your application.
And finally, how can our listeners learn about the Library of Congress Connecting Communities Digital Initiative, and how can they reach out, or who can they contact for further questions?
Again, keep trumpeting the Of the People website. That's a great way to it's kind of a one-stop shop for finding all the information that you need about Connecting Communities Digital Initiative in general, and also the 3 specific programs and awards that we have underneath that, either through a browser search or loc.gov/CCDI. We also have a Twitter page, LC_LABS, and we tweet quite a bit about our programs. I mentioned before the Of the People blog, and that's a great way to get information and really to subscribe to the blog as well to get the most up-to-date information. You can go to Of the People blog, and then in the search box put CCDI, and then you'll see all of the blog posts that we've done. And then finally, if you want to reach out to us directly, if you have questions about the eligibility or criteria or other questions, here's an email, loc-grants@loc.gov.
Well, I would like to thank you, Marya, for taking time out to talk to us today to tell us more about the Library of Congress Connecting Communities Digital Initiative.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all giving us the time to share this information, and we do hope that people will reach out to us if they have questions, and also hope that they will apply.
Up next, Lanasha chats with Brooke Betsuie. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health's patient enrollment specialist can help you enroll, renew, or update your access information. This can be done in person, on the phone, or via Zoom, days, nights, or weekends. It's fast, easy, and can make a difference in keeping your health care coverage. For more information, call 602-285-9492.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Puwadi. In the studio with me is Brooke Betsuie, a Navajo self-taught artist. Hello, Brooke. It's an honor to have you on our show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your Indigenous heritage?
Yeah, so I can introduce myself in Navajo. So yad shik ero shidana she Brooke Betsuie yinche. Adon na shlunigi na dant lugay nanisht ajatoban shlink lachini bashishin ki ani dashiche ado to heguni dashanele akut ego dene sanshle. So yeah, I just said my clan's in Navajo, and I am from an area on the Navajo reservation called White Mesa, which is kind of between Tunalia and White Mesa, or Tuba City, Arizona. So yeah, I also graduated this past year from NAU with my Bachelor's of Science within Public Health. So yeah, and I'm gonna go back this fall for my master's program. So yeah, I'm excited, and right now for the summer I'm just doing an internship with the NIH at the Phoenix Indian Medical Center. So yeah, it's kind of about me, who I am. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Congratulations on your graduation
Thank
as well.
you.
And we could start off with the basics and talk about your art. Can you tell us about how you got interested in art?
Yeah, I guess I've always just been doing art ever since I was little. I feel like my parents really allowed me to explore just being artistic and being creative. My mom, she was raised traditionally in like a Navajo lifestyle, so she knows how to weave, and so I feel like from that creativity that Navajo people have always had, I think I kind of got inspired by that and just wanted to make art in my own way, I guess. So yeah, I just ever since I was little, I can always like imagine or think of myself like just I was always like drawing and like just I don't know, like coloring or doodling and stuff. And I think it's allowed me to, I guess, reconnect to the culture. And a lot of the times I was away from home and like the reservation and being away from the animals and our land. So in some ways I use that art to kind of like reconnect and just draw like certain aspects of my life back on the reservation and back at home. So yeah, I think that I don't know, just growing up on the reservation, it's kind of inspired me to, be more artistic and want to create, like, connections to other people that have had the same experiences.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And did you start off with just, like, sketching or, like, painting or?
Yeah, I think I started out, like, just sketching. I know my parents always bought me like these drawing books, like how to draw certain animals, and they always like gifted me like certain art supplies, even though they're kind of like cheap. They were like, it allowed me to have that artistic freedom. So yeah, I think from then I started doing like painting and like just, and then I started doing like like pastels and stuff like that, but I think I'm more so like a painter. So yeah.
Oh, wow, that is awesome. And I know you mentioned that your mom grew up with like the Navajo lifestyle and she weaves. Have you ever learned how to weave, or has she taught you to weave?
Yeah, she actually has been teaching me and my sister. So we've done like a couple rugs by ourselves with her help. So we're still trying to learn. It seems like she really wants us to learn like these traditional arts and kind of like reclaim that. So I think, yeah, she's been like teaching us for the past couple years, but I don't really feel too confident. It's like a lot of, intricate stuff. Like it's almost like math. Like
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a lot of I don't know, just a lot of things to remember. Even making the loom, it's just like, I don't know how she does it and how she remembers everything, but yeah, so I'm trying to learn. I really want to. So yeah, me and my sister, we try to weave at least like once a year, like a rug once a year. So yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. And it is something that you guys can carry on to like your children's in the future and all of that. That is so amazing. And talking about your art, are there any artists or performers that have influenced your work? I know you mentioned a lot of your work has been inspired by like your background, growing up on the Navajo reservation and everything, but is there like any specific people?
Yeah, I think like when I think about different artists and like painters, I kind of I guess focus more on like indigenous like or Native American artists, so because in some ways like they do like their style is so different from each other, and that's kind of something like that I want to have, like my own style and something that puts me apart from everybody. So but some painters and artists that I find like to be an inspiration to me are R.C. Gorman and Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think his name is TC Cannon or something. But I know they focus more on like painting like indigenous people, and I know RC Gorman, he paints Navajo women, and that's something that I feel like I have a large focus on, just because being a Navajo woman, I have a lot of those same experiences, and I know what he's trying to like convey to his audience, and I feel like I want to be able to convey like my own message to different Navajo women as well, and like say, hey, we're all in this together, and this is your representation and everything, and yeah,
it's amazing how art can really tell a story.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know you mentioned some of the mediums that you work with, like sketching, painting, and pastels. Are there any other mediums you currently work with or that you want to learn?
Yeah, my main medium is actually watercolor painting. So yeah, I think from sketching and from, messing with like acrylic paint and everything, I've learned to like develop my skills and learn how to use watercolor. And a lot of people have said that it's kind of like a difficult like medium to work with, just because it's so like, it's like water basically. So it's hard to maneuver it and everything, but that's like that's why I really like it, I think, just because it's working with this thing that you kind of don't have a lot of control over, but you can try to control it, I guess. And it's just, I really like how light the paint is, and it's just very like, I guess, freeing in a way. But yeah, so I really like watercolor, and I also have like, I think these past 2 or 3 years I've been working with like digital art. So I bought an iPad, and I've been experimenting with digital art. And the main reason why I guess I chose that is because I know a lot of like other Native artists. I've seen them make stickers and all that stuff, so it's kind of hard to do that when like with watercolor or with drawing. So I wanted to be able to like digitize it, so, and plus it takes less time. It's like not as time consuming, and being in school I was like really caught up with my classes and homework and work, so I didn't have a lot of time as I used to have like when I used to paint. But so those are the two main mediums that I use.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I know I'm familiar with your digital art just because you also are selling product from it. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But I did have a question when you mentioned the digital art. How different, or is it easier than the watercoloring, like from paper and painting compared to digital?
Yeah, I definitely think it is a lot easier. Being that if you make a mistake, you can just like tap the erase button. And plus like if you want to experiment with like how things will look, or if you just want to mess around with it, it's like very like forgiving. But I know if you, like I've gone through so many sketchbooks, so many like drawing pads, that like it kind of eats away at your money. So I think digital art is way like very forgiving, and you get to, I feel like, experiment more, because there's a ton of different things you can do, and I haven't really explored all my options with digital art, but I know like I've seen like other artists, how they try to create their art and how they convey their message. But it's really cool, and it's a lot different than what I'm used to, like the old-fashioned way. But I think they both are are something that I really want to continue doing. But I think I do prefer watercolor over digital art. I feel like it's more authentic and more me, I guess. I think it's more like I don't know. It has a more special place, I guess, for me. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. And what kind of influences your work right now? Do you currently have like a theme or kind of like a message that you're trying to, I guess, more tell? Yeah,
so I think I really, like, a lot of my art focuses on Navajo women or like animals, and I also get inspiration from like our Navajo creation stories and like how I kind of interpret it or how I kind of see those images in my head. So I think that's one thing that will always inspire me, is just like how just like, I guess, resilient Navajo women especially are. I think that's something I really want to continue on making. And then some things like that have been happening, I guess, in like the social justice kind of realm, that stuff kind of inspires me too, just with issues happening in Indian country. It makes me want to be able to like use my art to convey a powerful message. So I haven't really made anything like kind of, I don't know, like, I guess relating to that, but it's just like different than what I usually make. I want to be able to, you know, spread positivity and just kind of allow people to look at my art and gain like a peace of mind. But yeah, that's something I want to experiment with in the future, and hopefully, you know, use my art for other, you know, reasons and for other messages that people can resonate with. So,
that would be great. And then talking about your digital art, and I know, can you share with us some of the product that you sell with all the amazing art you make with it?
Yeah, so I currently make stickers and I also make prints, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have right now. I'm kind of still trying to transition into making more, like maybe cards or I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been kind of doing. So yeah.
And hopefully maybe apparel later on. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Where do you currently sell your art?
I sell it mainly on Etsy shop, and I also do sales through Instagram. I guess whichever one is easier to use for people. I know not everyone knows how to use Etsy, especially like the older generation. And I feel like I've had a pretty like various like age group buying my art. I would think it's like mainly women, but actually a lot of men like enjoy like buying art too. So
yeah, especially like stickers and everything. Yes. Do you ever go to like any pop-up shop and bring your product there to sell?
I think actually I haven't done that yet. Yeah, it's just like me making everything, so it's hard to like go out into the community and be able to like, I don't know, just, it's like I'm a one-woman business, so it's hard. And I mean, my mom and my sister can help me, but they're busy too. And yeah, it's just been busy because I've been really focusing on school. But that's something I really want to do in the future, especially like just local flea markets, or just like allow people to, you know, because not everyone has social media, you know, so it's hard to know what's out there. But yeah, that's something I want to do.
That's awesome. And I know you do have a big following with your art. Can you let our listeners know where they can go to see your artwork and how they can contact you if they're interested in purchasing some of your product, or if they just have questions?
Yeah, definitely. So I usually send updates about my shop on my Instagram, which is Betsuie Art. B as in boy, E as in Edward, T as in Tom, S-U-I-E, Betsuie Art. Just my last name and art. And you can also find me on Etsy shop with the same username, Betsuie Art. Yeah, you can just shoot me a message on either one of those platforms and I'll try to respond. It's been kind of busy lately, but yeah, so.
That's awesome. Well, I would like to thank you, Brooke, for coming in today to tell us more about your amazing art and what inspired all of it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy. Sound engineer is Javier Quiroga, and our host is Lanasha Puadi. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.